Hey there, beautiful people. How are you? It's another beautiful day for an episode of Apothecary Wisdom. Today, we're going to be talking about red clover. And this plant is really special to me right now because it seems to be the plant that's the most in season. And this video today is going to be a little bit about the impressive list of all its medicinal qualities and key areas that red clover shines. It's going to be a little bit about that, but primarily this video is really about my personal experience and interaction with this plant and what I'm learning from this plant from a spiritual perspective and just from an awareness perspective, because what I'm feeling like red clover is teaching me about showing up and committing, and about the little small actions that we do over and over again. Red clover is teaching me about Qigong practice and about receiving and reciprocity. It's teaching about listening and ultimately about self-actualization. So, I know this is a live video for those of you who are watching on Facebook Live. I'm so glad you're here. And so for those of you that are watching the recording later, just go ahead right now, push like and subscribe on the video and ring the bell, because when you ring the bell, then you know every time we make a new video, you'll know about it and you'll be right there, ready. And just know we watch and we create new videos and we release new videos every Friday. So if this is our first time meeting, I'm happy to meet you. My name is Maria Chaudhary. I'm a midwife and an herbalist and a Qigong practitioner. And as a midwife, I've attended hundreds of births at home. And as an herbalist, I help take care of those families, and I created an herb company called Botanicals. We make tons of nourishing herbal remedies for women and children, and we share them all over the world. And you can learn more about us on our website at birthsongbotanicals.com. And to learn more about Qigong, you can go to my other website, pathwithharmony.com. But let's get into this video because I want to talk about red clover. Last year, red clover, I had a big patch of red clover in my garden. And in my front, I say garden loosely, it's a flower bed, okay? I had a big patch of it. And it was fairly close, but it was a little off to the side, and I could stand at the front door and I could look at it and see it, but I had to kind of go to it to harvest it. Something shifted. This year it made a leap, and now it is in the most prominent part of the garden. It's in the center of the garden, and it's in the middle path. So no matter which direction I leave the office, now which path I leave, coming or going, I come in direct contact with the red clover, and oftentimes it's brushing my leg. And so since this plant literally put itself directly in my path, it captured my attention, and it makes me stop and say, oh, are you trying to share something with me? Are you trying to teach me something? Is there a message? What do you want me to know? What do you want me to understand? What? Okay, I'll listen. So this video is about me listening. But before I get to that, I want to share just a little bit about red clover, because that's what most people know my video is about. I have a long list of all these impressive qualities and all these reasons why you need the plant in your life. That part is going to be short. But essentially, just know that red clover is called Trifolium pratensis, right? It's just rich in nutrients and phytochemicals, and it is a nourisher and it is a cleanser. So a lot of Chinese medicine incorporates red clover in their formulas for respiratory health and bronchial health, which is really appropriate for right now. And for those attributes of respiratory health, of cleansing phlegm and releasing the mucus from your body so it doesn't stay stagnant, we included red clover in our children's daily immune. We blended it with Astragalus root, so it's really great at keeping you healthy so that infection doesn't set in. So it helps you prevent infection. So women tend to turn to red clover for a lot of different reasons. Women that have irregular cycles, women that bleed in between their periods, women that are going through perimenopause and they're having hot flashes and menstrual flooding, women that have issues with fertility and they're struggling to conceive. Those women tend to turn to red clover. And so for that reason and for those reasons, we've included red clover in some of our primary remedies for women's health, right? So for women that have irregular cycles and that spot and bleed in between, and we put red clover, we blend it in with our Menstrual Harmony so that you can have synchronized, harmonized, dependable cycles. And then for the women that are struggling with fertility and they want to conceive and they want to prepare their uterus and their womb, they want their uterus to be gently cleansed and tonified and prepared and capable of carrying a pregnancy, then we blend it in with fertile ground, right? One thing I do want to say is there's some health issues for women that it's important for me to talk about right now, because there is a phytochemical in red clover and they're called phytoestrogens, and these are chemicals that mimic estrogen, and so they kind of can produce estrogen in your body, and sometimes it's really appropriate, especially for women that are in their menopausal years and their estrogen is declining. But then there are some times when estrogen is kind of fluctuating and skyrocketing and it might not be the best herb for you, and that is when you have fibroids. And so I made a whole video about fibroids. Actually, I've made videos about fibroids, fertility, menopause, and menstrual irregularities, and all those videos are all linked below. Also, all the products, they're also linked below. But I wanted to call that to your attention. One little kind of thing to be aware of, as much as red clover is a woman's herb for women, there are seasons when things are more appropriate than, and then other seasons when it's not appropriate. So red clover is not really appropriate if you're estrogen dominant. One other thing I just learned, or just reminded me of, is if you're dealing with the estrogens, being estrogen dominant, and you're wanting to include red clover, the estrogen is primarily in the leafy green part of the plant, not so much in the blossoms or in the flowers. And do you see how I harvested this? See how I have that leaf part? If you were to harvest it and you were estrogen dominant, then you would just not pick the leaves. You would just have the flowers, and it would be, you'd have less phytoestrogens in your infusion. So that's an important little piece for you to know about, okay? Okay, so I'd love to hear from you. Like, why do you love red clover? What way are you drinking? Are you drinking it as a tea, as an infusion? Are you having it in tinctures? And why? Is it because you're working through fertility issues? Is your period irregular? Are you working with bronchial congestion? Are you just falling in love with the plant because it's right in your path? Put it in the comments and let me know, okay? Because I want to transition away from like all the scientific, not that I was that scientific in that moment, but I want to kind of start to talk about the messages, right, that I received. And when I think about red clover, a few key words pop up. You know, one thing is that red clover is a cleanser. So people think of it as a cleanser, detoxifier. So it helps things move through your body, like lung congestion and stagnant. A lot of times when people have irregular periods, it's stagnant, right? So it helps things move through your body. But I'm going to flip that and I'm going to say it helps you move through things. Right now, I mean, I think I should get a hallelujah if you hear me. Right now, we are in like a place of exponential growth and spiritual awakening. Everybody that at least I'm talking to is talking about they're having all these insights and they're feeling like they're transforming and transitioning in ways that are new to them and that are exciting, and their soul is awakening, right? And shifting, and we're on a paradigm shift, right? And so Red Clover helps you move through the stages of your spiritual awakening. It helps you move through things. One other important thing about Red Clover I probably should have just talked about before in the scientific section is that Red Clover is a member of the legume family. Legumes, beans, soy, those tend to be in a category of cellular protectors. Granted, all of this you have to take with a grain of salt because not every medical practitioner or scientist will agree with it, but many do, and they would consider soy and legumes to be anti-cancerous, right? They help protect your body from abnormal cell growth, right? So when you think of Red Clover, you think of cleansing, helps you move through something, and then you also think of protection. When you're going through such an exponential growth and awakening on a cellular level and on a soul level and on a consciousness level, it's really beautiful. And some of the things that we seem to be afraid of, we might not really need protection from, but there is a lot that we really do need protection from. And Red Clover is a protector. It holds you so you can move through something, and it protects you as you awaken. Okay? And also, when I think about Red Clover, for me, it really mirrors and resembles and reflects and is similar to my Qigong practice. Because Red Clover illustrates to you, at least to me, over and over, that it is better to go and pick a few blossoms every day rather than wait for a bunch of blossoms to accumulate. Let me say more about that. In a Qigong perspective, we value the quality of your practice over the quantity of your practice. Sometimes we have these arbitrary goals of like, I'm going to practice Tai Chi every day for 30 minutes, right? But then we're practicing our Qigong every day for 30 minutes, and we're going through the motions, or we're holding a stance, but we're not fully engaged in it. So there's that. So that's an arbitrary goal, but we're not fully present. Versus being fully present, even if it's for a few moments where you can really anchor yourself and center yourself and feel the chi and really be fully whole in your practice. That is far more valuable, being able to be fully present, than to go through the motions. So Red Clover also illustrates that, because both learning Qigong and practicing herbalism, so practicing Qigong and practicing herbalism, they both require you to be fully present, to utilize all your senses, to instill a sense of deep listening, and to have a habit and a practice that you do over and over in order for you to master it, right? And they both require an immense amount of energy and focus and commitment. So with Red Clover, I do want to say, like, from my experience, when here's this plant, and right before it starts to bloom, you're like, ooh, hey, you're about to bloom. And then the day it blooms, there was one blossom. Boom! I was like, oh my gosh, there's a blossom. Can I pick it? And she's like, yeah, of course, take it, please. I'm like, okay. And I have this little one blossom, and I plop it in my water, probably just like I did right here, right? And then what happens? The next day, there's like 3 blossoms. Boop, boop, boop. And then the next day, there's like 6. Boop, 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 boop. And then there's like 9. Boop, 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 boop. Right? And so that is an energy exchange. When you communicate and when you have a connection or a link to a plant, you have an energy exchange. And that energy exchange is essential to the Red Clover plant. It's really essential to all plants, but Red Clover is the one that taught me this lesson. So, think of, it's so essential that you come every day and pick the plant, because it's a lot like a breastfeeding mom. Okay, so a breastfeeding mom, she has her breast milk and she's nursing her baby. When the baby nurses, the more the baby nurses, it sends a signal to the mother's body, hey mom, make more milk. And so the baby nurses, the mom makes more milk. If for whatever reason the baby doesn't nurse, the mom is like over full. She feels full, she feels engorged, it's painful, it's hot, she's stuck, she's stagnant, she's clogged up. And if that baby for whatever reason doesn't nurse for a long time, that mother would prematurely go through a weaning process. Her milk would dry up and she would just, it would hurt her physically, but she would just prematurely dry up because she didn't have the stimulation anymore. It's all about supply and demand. So it's the same thing with the red clover blossoms. And so when you're harvesting red clover, it's not about taking something. It's really more about receiving. It's about allowing yourself to receive. It's about allowing yourself to show up and commit and learn how to receive. And it's about receiving the blossoms. It's about receiving the moment. It's about receiving the love. It's about receiving the medicine. It's about receiving the message, right? There's an art. There's an art to receiving. And essentially, really, what Red Clover is saying, or what I heard, the message that I got, was she's like, hey, when you don't show up and you don't receive me, when you don't receive my message, my love, my wisdom, my blossoms, my medicine, when you don't tend to me and you don't exchange with me anymore, then I can't produce. That I can't become, I can't create, I can't fulfill, I can't become my fullest, most truest, most actualized self. I can't self-actualize if you stop coming, because I need this energy exchange. This is called reciprocity. If I just bloom and you're not there, I'm going to wither too soon. And I'm not going to be able to produce or make the medicine or grow to my fullest potential without you. I can't really do this without you. We're doing this together. Right? I kind of like let that sink in, because to me that's like a really powerful message, because that goes beyond harvesting plants. That goes into your relationships. That goes into your friendships, that goes into your parenting, that goes into your business, that goes into everything that you want to put attention into, but then you start to, but then you don't. You give it attention, and it's about to, and then it just can't fully actualize. Yeah, so essentially just what she's saying is, let me love you, let me nourish you, right? If you come to me and invest in me, I'll take care of you. I'll protect you. I'll be there. That's what she says. And we, because what I think happens is we don't always understand, or it's not really clear to us, what it's costing us. So like when we don't have a daily meditation practice or a Qigong practice or yoga practice or a garden or some way that we self-care, if we don't have a daily self-care practice, we don't understand what the cost of that is. For example, like if you don't go, oh, so what's the big deal if I didn't go out and pick out these red clover blossoms today? What's the big deal if I didn't pick a few blossoms? What's the big deal if I didn't practice today? What's the big deal if I didn't pick up the phone and call you today? What's the big deal if I didn't show up? What's the big deal if I didn't make the post? What's the big deal? And so essentially from a self-mastery perspective, and when we're working at a level of self-actualization, every time that you don't show up and every missed opportunity, every missed opportunity leads to less energy. Every missed opportunity leads to lack of progress. Every missed opportunity leads to more miscommunication, more misunderstanding, more tiredness, more confusion, more fatigue, more overwhelm, more depletion, right? And then we just start to spiral out of control. Essentially, when you think about what Qigong practice is and what herbalism is, and when you think about, so when you're doing Qigong practice, what is it that you're even doing? Just in brief, what the goal or the intention of a Qigong practice is to cultivate energy, right? It's to cultivate Qi, and it's to circulate Qi, and it's to, to store the Qi for later when you need it. And when you think about growing medicinal herbs, and what are you doing? You're cultivating a plant, right? You're harvesting a plant, and then you're going to store the plant for later. You're going to store it, you're going to dry it, or you're going to turn it into medicine for later. And so the act of harvesting is part of that circulation of Qi. And so I wanted to illustrate the similarities between the Qigong practice and the herbal practice, because they're essentially the same thing. And then, so you start to see what it's costing you. What it's costing you is if you don't show up every day. There was a beautiful moment in the garden that you didn't have. There was a beautiful moment with the plant that you didn't do. But also, and you didn't have that Qi exchange. But also, you weren't able to store it for later, right? So you weren't able to fill your bag later. You weren't able to make your medicine later. And so then later, when you need it, it's not there. Or later, when you need that person, but you never called them or contacted them or even reached out to them, then they're not there, right? Or when you were trying to build your business, but then it was always on the back burner, then you don't have a business. Or when you're trying to radically change your health, but you're not able to focus on your health, health isn't going to be there for you, right? This is an investment. I wrote a lot about and talked a little bit about investments and commitments and the risk of a commitment and this whole topic just recently in our summer solstice self-care video. So if you want to know more about what the risk is, go to that video. And it also, in that video, it talks a little bit more about the urgency of self-awakening, of why it's so important and why we need each other. But also, when I think about Red Clover, there are two messages. It's about timing, right? So timing. The first one is, I already said it, essentially timing. You have to go out there and pick the blossoms while they're fresh, because if you don't, they're going to wither and they're going to dry and they're going to go away, and the plant cannot produce as much medicine as it was going to, and the plant will fade quicker. The other one is about timing, is a little bit different. It's more about hearing a message and then understanding the message and then not doing anything about it. So for example, before red clover bloom in the spring, probably even before the plant walk, Red Clover was hey, make me a video. Make a video about me. Come on. You want to make a video about me? I'm so cute. Make a video about me. I'm right here. Make a video. And I'm okay, yeah, that's great. I'll do it. That's a great idea. I'll do it. Okay, I'll do it. Okay, I'll do it. But then, I don't know. We had this whole riots in the streets, so I talked about racism. Oh, I don't know. We had all these problems, and we had all these intense emotions, so I talked about that. And, oh, I don't know. Mother's Day happened, and then, oh, I don't know. We had the summer solstice, and, oh, we had Father's Day. So something always popped up, right? Right? Something always popped up, and oh, I don't know, what am I going to say about Red Clover? What can I say about Red Clover? I mean, I can read the books, and I can read what everybody else says about Red Clover, but what am I going to say about Red Clover? So I waited for the perfect timing, so for the perfect words. I waited for me to have the perfect words, and I waited for the perfect environment, the perfect setting for me to do video, which I'm glad I'm not doing the video outside today like I kind of had hoped I was going to do, my original plan, because it's pouring down rain right now, or it's kind of clearing up a little bit, but it's been thundering and lightning. So the point I'm trying to make is when you hear the message and you understand the message and it's clear and you wait on it, then the time passes and you missed it. It's that simple. So there's that. Don't wait. And, you know, the other reason I didn't make the video last week is another silly reason, but it's part of the teaching, so I'm just going to share it. I took this class because I want to grow. I'm growing a YouTube channel, right? As you can see, you're on this, you're watching me. Thank you for watching. But I'm growing this YouTube channel, so I took this class, and this class is all about all the strategies and all the ways for you to successfully grow a YouTube channel. And one of the strategies and one of the ways to grow a YouTube channel is really to understand how YouTube works so you can master it. And how YouTube works is through keywords, right? And so how you utilize keywords to drive traffic to your channel is you go and you look and see all the keywords that you're already known for. And those keywords, if you're already known for them, they're going to have higher relevancy and people are more likely to see your video. So I'm known for keywords tinctures, and I'm known for keywords home birth, and I'm known for keywords breastfeeding. But I'm not known for keywords of videos about Red Clover and the spiritual lessons that Red Clover taught me, right? That's not the keyword, that's not the strategy. So I'm really was committed last week to my strategy. The other reason, another strategy to grow your YouTube channel is to talk about one thing essentially and not jump around and talk about a bunch of different topics. Talk about one topic, right? And so when I'm talking about tinctures and home birth and breastfeeding or my menstrual health situation, then the spiritual awakening of the self-actualization process that Red Clover taught me kind of doesn't fit into that category, right? So that's why I didn't make the video last week. So then you're like, well, why are you telling me all this? Why are you making the video now? Why'd you do it now? If you know it doesn't fit the strategy, it's not going to grow your YouTube channel, it's not the thing, right? Well, I'm making the video now because I want to honor the message and I want to honor the messenger. And I want to be the person, because I am the person that values the becoming of who we're becoming. I value who we're becoming more than I value the achievements. The achievements is how many YouTube subscribers do you have? How many people watch this video? The achievements. So I've so gotten caught up in my life about achievements, of what success is and achievements and of the data points. How many times, and I'm sure you ask yourself this, and people ask you if you're a business owner, or if you're a business owner, or you're like a teacher, or you have products or classes or something, people ask you like, how many students do you have? How many products do you have? How much money do you make? How old are you? How much do you weigh? What rank are you in martial arts? How many miles can you run? How much? In what way are you successful? Show me on the data sheet, right? And I feel like we get caught up in our achievement more than we get caught up in our becoming. And I feel like Red Clover is telling me to stop, and she's saying, let's just move through that achievement and let's become. Exchange with me. Receive my medicine, listen, share. I'm here, I'll protect you, right? So that's why I made the video today. So put in the comments if any of this is making sense to you, and put in the comments if you can understand the desire to achieve something versus the desire to become something, to become someone. And also put in the comments if you do have a daily practice. Awesome. And if you do have a daily practice but you're not quite there every day, why? What's blocking you? Okay. So the last insight that I want to leave you with is about listening. Okay? listening, and it's about deep listening. So I recently reread this book, The Alchemist. It is so delightful. Read the book. You're going to love it. And as an herbalist and as a Qigong practitioner, man, I really love the word alchemy and alchemist. I mean, essentially, alchemy is the process that your soul goes through to become better. Essentially, it's that simple. But I've made a lot of videos recently, and I've utilized the word alchemy. When I talked about Qigong in some videos, and I made some medicine making videos, I utilized the word alchemy. Briefly, this story, I don't want to give the story away if you haven't read it, but the story reminds us that there is a language of the world, right? There is this language, this universal language that is understood by all things in creation. The wind understands it, the sand understands it, the sun understands it, the people, the animals. Not everybody understands it, but they have the potential to understand it. There is this universal language of the world, right? And this book reminds you to see the omens, see the signs, see the symbols, see the plants that are directly in your path, right? And to follow those things. And so there's this deep listening of seeing the signs and the symbols. At the same time, I want to talk about this thing called an algorithm. I just talked about it. I'm trying to be successful on YouTube. I put in all these keywords to feed the algorithm. I'm talking about the algorithm because I've utilized the word alchemy several times in a video. And at the time when I made these videos, I didn't see the word written. Maybe in some of my Qigong books somewhere, but it wasn't written. I wasn't seeing it on my screen. And now that I've been saying the word on my screen, on my YouTube, on my Facebook feed, I've been getting all these ads. Oh, sign up for the Art of Feminine Alchemy. I'm like, ooh, that sounds cool. Alchemist Labs, Alchemy of Herbalism, some other alchemy. There was another alchemy thing. There were 3 or 4 alchemy words that popped up. And I'm like, oh, is that a sign? Right. Yes, as I'm filming this video, we're in quarantine. So a lot of people are seeing each other and they're talking in public, but a lot of us are in quarantine because we're trying to get this pandemic to pass us quicker. So we're not out there talking to a lot of people, but so we're like in this place of we're like communicating with each other on this other level. We're entering in this universal consciousness, in this human consciousness. And yes, we're communicating on Facebook and on YouTube, and we're humans, and part of this human consciousness and language of the world is on YouTube and is on Facebook. That's how we find each other. But it's also, YouTube and Facebook is an algorithm. An algorithm is a machine. It is a synthetic machine that is made for you, that is intentionally made for you to stay on that screen and to stay on that platform for longer. We are so susceptible to what we see on the news and on social media and on headlines and what other people think and say, and we think we're free thinkers, but we really just regurgitate everything that everybody else says. And so I just want to be real clear, part of deep listening is having the discernment of the language of the universe, the signs and the omens, and the algorithm. The language of the universe and the signs and the symbols of nature will lead you on your path and will lead you to your destiny. The algorithm will keep you trapped on your phone. Be aware of that, right? Listen deeply. Okay, the last listening piece is, I guess what I want to say is like, We all need teachers. We all need other people to validate us. As much as I think that I want to be so independent on my own, I understand the exchange that needs to happen, and I understand that I see myself reaching out and looking for acknowledgement or looking for validation to make sure that I'm on the right path, I'm going the right direction, that I'm not crazy, right? We all need that, right? At the same time, the habit or the pattern has been when we need that, and now we're in quarantine, but so we look to other people, right? And in the past, in the past we looked to experts or we looked to books, and now we're looking to the computer, right? And like I said in the very beginning of the video, things are changing exponentially. So how we know things and how we learn things now is really different than how we used to know things and learn things. We're at the forefront of human evolution right now. Our life is different than our mothers and then our grandmothers and their grandmothers. And so how we learn things and know things is different, and how we get that information is different. And so what's being asked of us is to go into direct connection with yourself, with your higher self, with the people that you're communicating with, directly communicating with them, direct connection with the plants, with nature, with the animals, going into direct connection. Because we're at such a rapid rate of change and opening and awakening that there really isn't an expert out there that knows more about your destiny than you do. Even if you're confused. I wasn't going to say this, but as I was walking in, it just was raining, and I walked in, and I had this thought, so I am going to say this. I find myself oscillating because I believe I fully need to go within myself to find the answers to my destiny and look into nature, because I am nature, so that's not even separate. But the point I'm trying to make, there is a little bit a difference between this, I don't know. Like this opening to the universe, I don't know, I'm curious, what's my destiny? Versus, I don't know, the contraction state. So a lot of times we're saying, look to ourselves when we're in a contract state, and we're like, there's no way I'm the expert. But then sometimes you're in this state and you're like, no one knows more about my destiny than me, let's go, right? So when I'm saying that, you're in an open state, right? Okay, so essentially what I'm trying to say is you want to be in an open state of curiosity and connect with your higher self and connect with the plants. And I'm going to start to wrap this up. I really just want to say too, though, that with Qigong, just like in herbalism, and I want to go back to herbalism before I go to Qigong, direct with the plants. In herbalism, you need teachers, because when I sit with the plant, I get direct information, right? But when I read the books and the scientific data and the lab and stuff, so when I'm with the plants, I don't hear anything about phytochemicals and estrogen might not be good for fibroids, right? The plant didn't tell me that. A book told me that, a teacher told me that, an expert, a scientist told me that, an herbalist told me that, right? And that information is incredibly valuable and real, important and relevant, and I need to express and share that with you. That's part of knowing herbalism. It's not just sitting there getting your feelings. But at the same time, the direct teaching from the plant did tell me, I will cleanse through you and I'll protect you, and I'm good for your female body. Right? And it told me that. But so what I'm trying to say, when we open ourselves up to get direct connection, to understand the language of the universe, sometimes it's broad and it's correct and it's accurate and it's real, but it's not the specificity. And that's when you get your teachers and your books. So it takes both. But right now with awakening process, a lot of it is not specific. It's a broad thing that you're going through. So trust in that. Okay, so with Qigong, of course you need teachers. There's no way I would ever get to have gotten as deep and as wide as I've gotten without teachers, and I'm fully blessed. I have teachers and friends and mentors that practice Qigong all over the world, and it's like it is a network, and it is one of my greatest blessings of my life, right? But the greatest teacher of Qigong, like when I'm leading a class, after we've gone through the movement several times and you understand the physical movement and you understand the breath process, I say things like, I'm going to be silent now. Let the form teach you. Let your breath teach you. Right? Because when you go into the silent, still place, then you can listen and you can feel and you can observe the flow of energy. You can observe where you're stagnant. You can observe where you can loosen, right? It's through the direct connection with the chi that you achieve the understanding, right? So I just am highlighting that again. So put it in the comments. What has red clover or any plant taught you right now? Tell me in the comments, have you ever gotten like confused about like the nature and the language of the world versus the algorithm? Have you looked on your phone and been like, oh my gosh, this is for me? And thinking somehow that was like the universe talking to you when it was really just a machine trying to get you to buy something. Put that in the comments, take a deep breath, and I would like to invite you, if you'd like to learn more about Qigong, you can go to the website, pathwithharmony.com, and I invite you. We practice live on Zoom every Friday, and it's a donation base. It's Qigong for women. It's a safe environment. Every experience level is welcome. Every mobility level. Some people sit, some people stand. You don't need a lot of space. We practice together for about an hour. If you'd like to try it out before you even come to the class, when you go to the website, you'll see you can download a free class. You can do that there, and that's at pathwithharmony.com. I want to remind you, all the products we talked about, they're linked below. All the videos that we talked about fibroids, menstruation, solstice, fertility, all that is below. And I'd like you to push like and subscribe and share this video with your friends. And really, my friends, look and see what's growing in your path. What message does it have for you? Take your time, stop and listen. Receive the message. Allow yourself to receive. It's an act of love, not only for yourself, but for the rest of the universe. We all need this exchange together. And I do want to say, at first, it seems like you just pick a few. These are the ones I picked today. This is a collection of a few days. But then eventually it adds up. Look, you can have a whole bag. You save it for later. And until next time, my friends, I appreciate you. Drink deep and always walk in beauty.